I never thought that a simple decision could change my life forever. My name is Marco, and I own a small Italian restaurant in the heart of downtown. Mamma Mia's has been my pride and joy for over a decade. I remember when I first opened the doors. The smell of fresh basil and garlic filled the air, and I had dreams of making it a local favorite. I worked hard, pouring my heart into every dish. But recently, things had been tough. Business was slow, and I was worried about making the rent. I had bills piling up, and the pressure was getting to me. I tried everything to attract customers, from special discounts to live music nights, but nothing seemed to work. I often found myself staring out of the window, watching people pass by, hoping someone would stop in. One chilly November evening, I was cleaning up after a long day when I noticed an older man sitting on the sidewalk outside my restaurant. He wore tattered clothes and had a scruffy beard. He looked tired and lost, yet there was something about him that caught my eye. He held a small cardboard sign that read, "Hungry and homeless. Anything helps." I had seen him before. He often sat on that same spot, but I never paid much attention. My heart sank a little for him, but I pushed the feeling aside, reminding myself that I had my own problems to deal with. I had bills to pay and a business to run. As I was locking the door for the night, the man looked up at me. His eyes were weary, but there was a kindness in them. "Excuse me, sir," he said, his voice trembling. "Could you spare a little food? I'm really hungry." I hesitated. I wanted to help, but I couldn't afford to give away food. Not when I was struggling to keep my restaurant afloat. My stomach tightened with guilt, but I shook my head. "I'm sorry, but I can't help you. We have a strict policy against giving food away. It's not good for business." The man's expression fell. He nodded slowly, understanding that I couldn't help him. "I understand," he said quietly. "Thank you anyway." As he turned to leave, I felt a rush of regret. I wanted to take back what I had said, but my pride held me back. I watched him walk away, feeling a mix of sadness and shame. I returned inside and locked the door, but I couldn't shake the image of the man from my mind. The next day, I opened the restaurant, but my heart wasn't in it. The memory of the homeless man lingered, gnawing at me. I kept thinking about how I had turned him away when I could have shown kindness. I thought about how hard life must be for him. Days passed, and I couldn't stop thinking about him. I told myself I would try to help if I saw him again. I began to keep an eye out, hoping he would return, but each day came and went, and he never showed up. Then, one rainy afternoon, I was wiping down the tables when I heard a commotion outside. Curiosity got the better of me, and I stepped outside. To my surprise, the homeless man was back, but this time there was a crowd around him. People were talking excitedly, pointing and taking pictures. I felt a surge of confusion and curiosity. I pushed my way through the crowd until I could see him clearly. He was no longer wearing his ragged clothes. Instead, he had on a tailored suit that looked like it cost more than my restaurant. His beard was neatly trimmed, and his eyes sparkled with a warmth I hadn't noticed before. "Excuse me," he spoke to the crowd, his voice commanding attention. "I want to thank everyone for your kindness. I never expected to receive so much love. It's overwhelming." I stood there, completely stunned. This man, who I had dismissed and turned away, was now the center of attention. I felt a wave of shame wash over me. How could I have been so blind? As the crowd began to disperse, I approached him cautiously. "I'm sorry," I stammered. "I didn't recognize you." He held up a hand, smiling warmly. "No apologies necessary, my friend. Everyone has their struggles. I was once where you saw me, but life has a way of changing things." I was curious. "What happened? How did you end up here?" He chuckled softly. "It's a long story, but let me tell you, I was once a successful businessman, but I lost everything. I lost my job, my family, and my home. I hit rock bottom, and it took me a long time to find my way back. But I learned a lot about kindness and the importance of community during that time." I looked at him, feeling a newfound respect. "I'm sorry for what you went through. I wish I had helped you when I had the chance." "It's okay," he replied, his eyes twinkling. "Sometimes we need to experience hardship to appreciate what we have, and sometimes we need to be reminded of the power of a simple act of kindness." His words struck a chord deep within me. I realized that I had allowed my fears and worries to blind me to the needs of others. I had let my pride get in the way of genuine compassion. "Can I buy you a meal?" I asked, hoping to make up for my earlier mistake. He smiled, and it lit up his face. "I would love that." We walked into the restaurant together, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. I wanted to hear more about his journey and learn from him. I sat him down at one of my favorite tables and served him a steaming bowl of pasta. As he ate, he shared stories of his past, of the highs and lows he had experienced. He spoke of losing everything and how difficult it was to rebuild his life. But he also spoke of hope, of finding strength in the kindness of strangers, and of how he had learned to give back to those in need. With every bite, I felt a connection forming between us, a bond that transcended our differences. I found myself laughing and sharing my own struggles with him, and he listened intently, offering advice and support. After finishing his meal, he looked at me with sincere eyes. "Thank you, Marco. You didn't just feed me, you reminded me of the goodness in people." His words filled my heart. I realized that this encounter had changed me in ways I never expected. I had been so focused on my problems that I had forgotten the importance of compassion and empathy. From that day on, I made it a point to help those in need. I started a program at my restaurant where we offered free meals to the homeless. I encouraged my staff to get involved, and together we made a difference in our community. The homeless man, whose name I learned was David, became a regular visitor at the restaurant. He often stopped by to share his journey and lend a helping hand. Together, we organized events to raise awareness about homelessness and to provide support to those who needed it most. As time went on, I realized that my business began to flourish. More customers came in, drawn not just by the food, but by the sense of community we created. People appreciated our efforts to help those in need, and they felt good about supporting a place that cared. One day, David came in with an envelope in hand. He handed it to me, his eyes filled with gratitude. "This is for you, Marco. It's a donation to help continue the program we started together." I was taken aback. "David, I can't accept this. You've been through so much. This is your hard-earned money." He shook his head, smiling. "I wouldn't be here without your kindness. This is my way of giving back. We're all in this together." Tears welled in my eyes as I realized the impact our friendship had made. David had taught me that kindness and compassion could change lives, and together we were making a difference. As I looked around my restaurant, filled with laughter and joy, I felt a sense of purpose that I had never experienced before. I had learned to see beyond my own struggles and to embrace the beauty of human connection. In the end, it wasn't just about the food or the business. It was about the people we touched along the way. David had become a friend, a mentor, and a reminder that kindness has the power to change everything. And so, I often reflect on that chilly November evening when I made a choice that I regretted. I learned that sometimes the most unexpected encounters can lead to the most beautiful transformations. I am grateful for the opportunity to have met David and for the lessons he taught me about love, resilience, and the importance of helping others. Sometimes, all it takes is a little compassion to change a life. And in doing so, we might just find that our own lives are transformed in the process.